Good morning. Last night, Hurricane Hermine impacted our state. As we all braced for impact and kept our families safe overnight, our emergency response personnel worked nonstop to respond to the needs of our communities. Florida has the best state and local emergency management professionals, and they will do all they can to help families and residents get back to work. Today, I know there is a lot of work to do left following the storm. We will spend the coming days assessing the damage and responding to the needs of our communities and Florida families. But the number one thing is to stay safe. Do not drive in standing water. Stay away from down power lines. Just because it's clear outside does not mean it's safe. Take all the precautions. Beginning early this morning, we began assessing the damage and initiate our response and recovery efforts to assist those who have been impacted by this storm. Here's what we know right now. There's going to be a lot of debris, including uprooted trees and fallen limbs. Do not travel on the roads until they are clear and it's safe to do so. The storm has caused a lot of down power lines. Do not touch them or approach them. Call your utility power company and report any down power lines in your area and let them handle it. We expect to have significant amounts of flood water along coastal and inland areas. Don't drive in it. Stay out of all standing water, especially around power lines and power sources. If your home has been damaged and you need assistance or to find a shelter, please visit your local emergency management office or visit floridadisaster.org/info. You can also call 850-921-0217. We expect to see a lot of down traffic lights and road signs. Again, don't travel unless you really have to travel. It's important for everyone to stay tuned to their local weather station for updates on road and weather conditions. As the hurricane moved through our state, more than 253,000 Floridians experienced power loss. This number will continue to fluctuate throughout the day. In the following counties, the following percentage of people are without power. Alachua, 19%. Citrus, 13%. Franklin, 19%. Gadsden, 40%. Hamilton, 38%. Jefferson, 34%. Lafayette, 13%. Leon, 68%. More than 70,000 homes are without power. Levy, 13%. Madison, 31%. Taylor, 41%. Wacola, 99%. Our utility companies are working to restore power. This morning I have contacted the following utilities: Swanee Valley Electric, Taylor Electric Cooperative, Gulf Power, Duke Energy, Talcon Electric, Florida Power and Light, TECO, Maluchahatchee, Akuchi, Co-op. As the storm was approaching, I reached out to local leaders in the impacted areas to make sure evacuations were going okay and to see if they needed any state help. Following the storm this morning, I have contacted a variety of individuals. I spoke with Tallahassee Mayor Gillum. As of now, he says he has no unmet needs that the state could help him with. They are working very diligently on the power outages, and there's a lot of tree damage in Tallahassee, and there's a lot of roads closed. Commissioner Meeks in Levy County, Cedar Key is their biggest concern, and there's some damaged infrastructure there. Pinellas Sheriff Galtieri, Pasco Sheriff Noco, Hernando Sheriff Ninehouse, they have no reports of injuries. Citrus Sheriff Jeff Dowsey, no major issues to report. Dixie Sheriff Hatcher, no major issues to report. When I say that, it's issues that they're dealing with, everybody's dealing with issues, but things, what I ask is there's something that the state can help them with. They're all dealing with they're all dealing with some road issues, they're all dealing with down trees, and they're all dealing with power lines down. Sheriff Williams, they had a rough night with a lot of trees down. Sheriff Jefferson Sheriff Hobbs, Monticello is okay, but there's a lot of county roads closed. Wacola Sheriff Creel, they're doing good. They had a lot of flooding, and they've evacuated the elderly people there. I've also talked to the mayor down in St. Mark's, and there's the bed and breakfast was flooded down there, and there was a lot of flooding. I was down there yesterday. Franklin Sheriff Mock, I checked with him a couple times last night. since there were reports there were people staying on St. George Island. Madison Sheriff Stewart, a lot of roads closed, but the interstate is now open. Lafayette Sheriff Lamb, they're trying to clear the highway, but no major issues to report. Suwannee Sheriff Cameron, they are doing good, but a lot of downed trees. They have no water damage that the state at this point, but everybody's still doing assessments. Hamilton Sheriff Reed, they're clearing roads and a lot of special needs individuals in shelters. Columbia Sheriff Hunter, they believe right now, based on their assessment, they don't have significant damage. Gadsden Sheriff Young and their Emergency Management Director. Gilchrist Sheriff Schultz, no major issues to report. Leon County Sheriff Wood, same thing as I said before, a lot of down trees, a lot of the power outages, but they're working really, really hard. Marion County Sheriff Gainey, no major issues. He did tell me that one homeless man in Marion County was hit by a tree and passed away. Earlier this morning, the Florida National Guard deployed reconnaissance teams. They're beginning in Crystal River and working their way up the coast. There are special forces who are doing search and rescue. We have 6,000 National Guardsmen who are stand ready to assist our state. Florida Wildlife Commission have conducted search and rescue missions with high water vehicles in multiple counties. Heroes across our state answered the call last night to help those in need. For example, in Pasco County, fire and rescue personnel and sheriff's deputies rescued 18 people from rising floodwaters and got them to safety. In Hernando County, Fish and Wildlife officers rescued families from flooded areas. And the state provided more than 75,000 sandbags to residents in impacted communities. Schools in 35 counties will remain closed today. Bay, Gulf, Walton, Columbia, Dixie, Franklin, Gadsden, Hamilton, Jefferson, Lafayette, Leon, Liberty, Madison, Suwannee, Taylor, Wacola, Alachua, Baker, Bradford, Clay, Duval, Flagler, Gilchrist, Levy, Marion, Nassau, Putnam, St. John's, Union, Citrus, Hernando, Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, and Manatee. State offices will remain closed in 37 counties, including some of the areas hardest hit, such as Taylor, Levy, and Leon counties. At least 59 shelters were operational last night, serving around approximately 300 Floridians. These shelters will continue to offer assistance to residents as needed, including those with special needs. And we had quite a few special needs individuals in the shelters. I want to thank the Red Cross for all their hard work in helping this effort. We know the one death in Marion County, but we're waiting for the medical examiner to confirm it was storm-related. What the sheriff said is a tree fell on him. Our first responders are still working around the clock to help people, and we will keep you updated as changes. Some of the state's hardest hit areas were along the Gulf Coast, as you would expect. In Taylor County, the storm surge was in excess of 9 feet, bringing water well into the coastal communities and causing extensive damage. Life-threatening coastal flooding and rip currents will continue through morning hours in Taylor County. In Hernando and Pasco counties, we received reports of flash floods causing evacuations of low-lying areas. At this time, we have not received any confirmed reports of tornado activity, but there's some unconfirmed reports. No interstates are closed. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge is still closed. There are no reported fuel supply, distribution, or retail issues at this time. Our ports are doing their preliminary assessments to ensure our waterways are safe. For information on road closures, please monitor your local news stations or visit fl511.com. You can also visit floridadisaster.org/info for information on road closures in your area. 31 state parks are closed. If you had property damage, you should locate all applicable insurance policies. It can include your homeowner's policy, your flood policy, or your car insurance policy. Document all damaged property and belongings. Take photos or shoot video footage before attempting any temporary repairs. When you file an insurance claim, you'll be asked for visual documentation of damages. A free phone app developed by the National Association of Insurance Commissioners called myphonescr.app.book can help you take and store a room-by-room log of photos. myhomescr.app.book. And they can help you store and take room-by-room log of photos. Contact your insurance company or insurance agent as soon as possible to report damages. Insurance policies require prompt reporting of claims, so it's important to act as soon as possible. Business owners who have been impacted by Hurricane Hermine should visit the Florida Virtual Business Emergency Operations Center at flvbeoc.org, flvbeoc.org, and complete a business damage assessment survey. Zika. Now we've had heavy rain throughout our state. It is incredibly important that everyone does their part to combat the Zika virus by dumping standing water, no matter how small. Any amount of standing water can serve as a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Everyone should dump the water around their homes and businesses. Encourage your friends and neighbors to do absolutely the same thing. Remember to wear long sleeves and use bug repellent when outdoors. Combating this virus is something we must do together, and everyone must do their part to take precaution in order to protect our state. Florida knows how to prepare, and we know how to lend a hand to our neighbors in need. Now is the time for our state to come together. There is a lot of work left to do. We will spend the coming days assessing the damage caused by the hurricane and responding to the needs of communities and Florida's families. I want to again thank our first responders for so quickly rushing to the aid of their fellow Floridians. Thank you to our great National Guard for standing ready to assist our communities in their time of need. I want to thank the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, Florida Baptist, and the many volunteers all across the state who continue to lend a helping hand to those impacted by this storm. Let's also thank our utility companies across our state who responded in the early hours of this morning to begin restoring power to impacted areas. And of course, we want to thank our state and local leaders and elected officials who continue to work together to ensure communities have the resources they need. Thank you, and I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Is it heartening, Governor, that the state hasn't gotten more requests from local governments for assistance? The fact that roads are open, is it better than you expected at this point?
Sure. I mean, look, first I was scared about the storm surge, especially places like Taylor. I went down and saw what was happening already down in St. Mark's yesterday, but the storm surge is pretty scary. I mean, if you think 6 to even 12 feet of storm surge, we got a little bit less rain than we thought, which was positive. We do have a lot of power lines down. We are going to see some flooding. And there's a lot of them. They're still doing assessments, so we'll see what happens. What scares me, what I worry about now is people driving in standing water, people touching a down power line. We got a lot of trees down, so we got a lot of power lines down. That's really the biggest concern. Hopefully, I know all the utilities are working hard, and they're working together. I saw they're calling each other to see what they could do. I talked to Stan Connolly over at Gulf early. He said they didn't have as much damage, so they're reaching out to everybody else. But Eric Szilagyi said the same thing at Florida Power and Light. That they were doing the same thing. So I talked to Mayor Gillum to tell him that because the cooperation is generally between the public utilities and then the co-ops, but they're all trying to help each other. So that's really nice. So.
Governor, did you feel like the state had enough notice of the storm and how strong it was going to be to give the evacuation orders, or was there some surprise by how much it built up before it hit Florida?
Well, we've been following this for quite a while. Again, I guess I don't know what we've been following.
About a week.
Yeah, quite a while. Followed it all the way through, the south of Key West and stuff. So we knew, we just didn't know how bad it was going to be. So I mean, we've been trying to get people ready, but the evacuation orders are local, and it really did pick up a lot of power. The storm surge increase that was scary. I was really concerned about. I called the sheriff down at St. George Island, and they were also concerned about losing there's a power station, I think, just across the bridge. They were worried about losing that last night, so I checked on them a few times. But look, we're so far the information we have is, other than what Sheriff Gainey told me, we didn't have a loss of life, and so that's real positive. But we've got to make sure people don't go in standing water, they don't touch down power lines. That's what happens afterwards. Brian's team is going to do a good job of making sure we get the recovery efforts going, but we're also trying to make sure we still have make sure we've saved everybody if anybody needs anything.
Are any major roads blocked, or is there any trouble with travel? You said don't travel if you don't have to, but Does that apply to sort of a statewide level or just sort of a neighborhood level?
Well, I think you ought to be careful. I mean, look at it ain't hard to get those done. The interstate was closed. I was talking to in Madison County, but that's opened again. But there's still a lot of roads closed around the state, and the Sunshine Skyway is still closed. So, you know, you can get on FloridaDisaster.org and find out, or call your local emergency managers. But I mean, be careful. This is, you know, by the end of the day, hopefully a lot of this will be cleaned up. We have lots of crews out, whether it's utilities or whether it's the cities, the counties. We've got a lot of state workers all around the state helping.
With about virtually everybody out of power in McCullough and 70% here in Leon, first, I know it's early, but is there any update on how long that might take to be fixed, or what you'd say to people as they wait? Probably a few days.
Well, what they've told me is a lot of it's to transfer stations, and so they're hopeful to repair it. But you know, everything takes time. I talked to Eric Slodgett over at Florida Power and Light. I know he was reaching out because they had some individuals over in Lake City that could come over and help. But I mean, I think everybody feels comfortable that they're making progress. Now, a lot of it, as I was talking to people, they were still doing a lot of assessments. So.
Have you gotten any calls for help, offering help for you? I mean, it seems like you're trying to help everyone else.
Well, Governor Abbott called yesterday, but you know, if you go sort of northeast of here, they're all dealing with their own issues. No, Sheriff Abbott called.
No.
Did you write this out at the governor's mansion, or?
I was here for a while, and then I went to the governor's mansion, and they every couple hours they were giving me an update, but it wasn't, you know, it was not as at least where I was, it was not as loud as I thought it was going to be. So
the impact that we talked about in McCullough, we talked about how the surge would take a while for it to recede, and people actually go in there and see how bad it was. Has it receded yet? Have people been able to give an idea of whether we've had loss of life or anything?
when I talked to individuals down there today, I was down at the Riverside Cafe, and they didn't know what happened there because, you know, they're right on the water, and the water was already coming up. But it got, I guess it flooded, they said, the bed and breakfast, but it didn't get all the way to the post office, which it did back, I guess what they told us was that Kate, I guess, it got to the post office. So I guess it wasn't as bad as they thought it could be, but they didn't have all of it. And their biggest problem is there's no power. There's in McCullough, there's no power. 1% seems like zero.
Do you plan on asking for a declaration of a disaster?
Well, the way it works, and Brian can explain it, but you have to hit certain numbers. So once you
That's right. Yeah, we're not there yet. Once we get the life safety issues done this morning, we'll start working with the counties, getting the power back up, get the infrastructure stabilized. Then we'll start into the damage assessment process. So it'll be not a long process, but it'll take a few days to add up the numbers as to what the financial impact has been to those communities that have been impacted and how many homes have been impacted as well. So we're definitely counting those up, and it's a possibility, but it's going to take a few days before we get there.
What are those numbers you have to read?
Generally for public assistance, which is the funds that go and help a community rebuild the public infrastructure, for a state, it's going to be about $26 million in uninsured losses. And then for the individual assistance, those programs that help the individual homes that have been impacted, you need to have around, for Florida, around 300 homes with significant or major damage, and those are uninsured homes and primary homes, not secondary homes for folks.
How did this area fare? I mean, there's uprooted trees all over the place in your front yard out here. I mean, does it?
Well, we did well here in the EOC. The generator kicked on a couple of times over the night. We did block off one of the entrances to the EOC with a tree there. So, Southwood, the neighborhood that houses the state office complex, and where I live has a number of trees down, and a lot of the power's out throughout. But the structure here worked exactly as it was supposed to, so we were pleased about that.
We lost some trees in the mansion, so part of the roads around the mansion were closed.
Bruno's all closed off with all the trees by the cemetery and everything.
I didn't see the back part of this one.
Have you all, I know the storm is still moving through and there's rain left over, but have you all talked about downgrading your status of emergency, or I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but
Sure. We will, we're going to continue working here in the Emergency Operations Center. We won't have as much overnight staff as we did last night. Last night was a life safety precaution. Tonight we'll have staff in here for any issues that emerge, but it won't be the same level of staffing that we had tonight. So we're going to run 12-hour days throughout the weekend to respond to anything. The state of emergency that's in place will remain in place as we go through the recovery process for this storm.
Could there be a number of hours or days?
For the
State of emergency.
The state of emergency is in place, it's generally, I think this one's in place for 60 days, so that will allow us to go through any contracting issues we need to do with debris removal and any other kind of infrastructure repair stuff we come up with.
Governor, are you going to be going out to Taylor County and McCullough and doing tours and whatnot, or is it too early?
So we're gonna decide that now. So, but I'm gonna get out and talk to people. It's the right thing to do. Anything else? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.